everybody. Good morning. Happy Wednesday? Yes, Wednesday. Happy middle of the week. Welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne. And somewhere out there, there's a disembodied Reaperite. Could be John, could be Justin. I'm not sure. They've just kind of phased out lately. So, I feel like I'm flying alone. Because they're so busy with ReaperCon planning is why. Because, having decided to commit to ReaperCon, now everybody has to shift into super high gear after a week, or after a year of not having ReaperCon, right? Or only having virtual ReaperCon, I guess. Oh, boy. So, what do we got? Yes, your hobby is watching paint dry. Yay. Let's see here. What do we got? Oh, first time viewer. Hi here, Boobin. It's nice to meet you. Is it Boobin or Boobin? Or I don't know. Your hair. Except then it sounds like it's hair. So then it's weird. It's sometimes when you're trying to shorten names on stream, you're just like, what? Wait, that's awkward. But yeah, cool. Here we are. Let's see here. Nice. Hey, if I'm in tune with Loki, I'm okay with that. I am kind of a force for chaos. So, I mean, I try to be lawful, but I've failed so many times I've just given up and firmly embraced my chaotic goodness. I'm firmly good, don't get me wrong, but totally chaotic. Hello, Lisa Law. Hello, Quindy. Hey, everybody. Yay. Awesome. Here we are. We have a dancing girl. We have a carpet. We do not have a dish yet because Anne was busy. but Anne is, I finished all my Patreon stuff, or almost all my Patreon stuff yesterday. So yeah, I think chaotic good rocks personally, but I'm biased. Hey, Neural. Thank you so much for the resub. 17 months. That's a lot. Sarcastic good, a valid alignment. Yeah. I think that does tend to be, well, I don't know. Despite your sarcasm, do you follow the rules? Or is your sarcasm a prelude to you breaking the rules, Nomad Z? Because then you'd be sarcastic lawful or sarcastic chaotic. Yeah, I used to be neutral good, but as I get older and I get the I just don't give a damn, thing going on that apparently you get as you get older, where you just don't want to deal with people's crap anymore. Then I've shifted to chaotic good. So, as of now, as of having this realization, almost all of my old people NPCs in my game are going to have to be chaotic. Because they've all hit that point of just don't give a damn anymore. The right thing the wrong way. Yeah, except that I don't think it's the wrong way. It's only the wrong way if you're lawful. Snarky good works. Again, depends on if your snark is a prelude to lawfulness or chaos. Sarcasm is chaotic? You really think so, Fubeka? Really? See, sarcasm, I guess it is intrinsically, because sarcasm is it's an action, but it's a lesser action against the establishment. So I'll buy that. Neutral tired? Aw, I'm sorry, Cornico. Pet your kitties and relax. Let's see here. So today, apparently, California decided it was summer because it's supposed to get to 80. We went straight from kind of grungy early spring to summer here. I'm used to that from Texas or Wisconsin. Really used to it from Wisconsin. Yeah, right. See, sarcasm could slide. It depends, right? Oh, so Ohio decided it should snow today? Yeah, it's going to be 82 here, apparently. Wow. Hey, Masara, thank you for the resub. Thank you for the love. Yes, we all love to have more love. Reaper love is the best love. All right, so here we are. So I'm just going to use my straight up Bones colors that I love for desert sand. I'm going to use desert stone. I'm going to highlight it with desert sand. I'm probably going to pop it up just a little bit with some white or off-white at the end, maybe some bleached linen. I decided I wanted to fill in the last primed area on the model this morning. Wow. Yeah, chaotic waffle when you have a strip code and nobody can work out what it is. Yep. Yeah. It's all crazy. So I have Lizette here, just in case. Although I do need to, like, clean off... Do I have to clean off a mold line? I thought I had cleaned off the model. I'm looking closely at the model. Thought I'd gotten everything. I guess it's just the edge. There's a little bit of a recess mold line we're going to have to fill in, I think, on her. But then this is just the mold line along the edge of the cloth, so that works fine. There is a little bit of a mold line up on the arm. All right, cool. Yeah, heat is starting early this year. All the cherry blossoms in Japan flowered like record early. Thank you, global warming. But yeah, I'm sad because we didn't get a lot of rain this year, so that means we're gonna have probably a bad fire season. And the smoke is like annoying because I can't walk outside in it. My lungs don't like it, so. Alrighty, Desert Stone. Let's get it going on. Now, I may decide to push this a little bit yellow. I'm going to put down these colors, and they may be a little bit too muted for her because she's so bright. So, hello, Free Serious. It's something. For me, it's morning. It is the morning. So, like, for those of you who are my patrons in the $15 tier... totally, like, I'm really grooving on how Tara is turning out. Like, I was unsure about the blue skin shadows at first, but just to pop her into frame for a second is what we've been working on. And you can see the shadow, right? So it's like using blue to shade the skin to give the appearance of light coming from this way. I'm really, really liking this. So, it needs refinement, but it's cool. I'm up for it. Yeah, if you're on the $15 tier, I did the shadows for the first video for my... Oh, wow, there's a huge Bobby Jackson in the bottom of this model. Even bigger than the Reaper. Or not bigger than the Reaper, but deeper in size. Just like Bobby is severely, like, really means to stamp his models now. But anyway, back to whatever. But yeah, so really enjoying how that is turning out. It's definitely, the Tara video is a little bit more advanced than the previous paint-along video, which was our Dragonkin Rogue. But, I mean, that's kind of the point. You can start with Dragonkin, and it should help some of your layering and, you know, highlighting skills. And then... Yeah, right, Graniko. I'm working on it. I'm still hoping for abs, but at this rate, it's going to be next year, because I'm, like, going down. My body is, like, clinging to the weight. Like, I'm still slowly dropping, but it's like, I should be dropping a pound a week, and I'm not quite hitting that the way I'm eating right now. All right, let's mix this up. Try to put it on thick and realize I needed a little bit. Oh, good, Fubeka. Excellent. Oh, Valendar, we will miss you. But thank you for showing up at the beginning and helping our numbers. Yeah, I'm glad you like the 15. I like the $15 tier. Like, when I started this Tara model, I'm like, this is going to be challenging. Let's see where it goes. But now I'm, like, actually liking her quite a bit, the way that she's coming out. So... And, hey, you $15 people are going to get, like, love. Big time love. Because I actually mentioned, I alluded to this and then didn't actually finish my statement the other day. But my special offer for May is going to be if you sign on to the $15 tier, whether you're upgrading from a lower tier or you're a brand new patron, you get to help me test out my classes. Like, there's going to be no charge for the classes. David suggested, you can thank David for this, that if I just made it, instead of a $5 tier, a $15 tier, I could just give the class for free. Because then the $15 tier essentially is paid, you know, paid $15 for the month to get into the class. So I think that's pretty bargain price too, because usually, you know, when we give classes, they're more expensive, especially when I give classes or at ReaperCon. So this will be an online class, but everybody's impressed with you, David. They're all thanking you for your idea.
You're welcome.
Yes. But it was a good idea, because I wanted to give you guys a cheaper class anyway, and if I make it the higher tier, then the people who sign up also get all the paint-alongs and everything else. Like, everything I've ever done on the Patreon, you get for signing up to the $15 tier. So, for $15, not a bad deal. So yeah, that'll be coming in May. And then there'll be some other stuff too, which, of course, the $15 tier will get all the other special offer stuff too, because it'll be a lower tier. So I textured this base with green stuff and not sand. Oh, and just to top that off, it's patreon.com/paintingbig. And I'll keep warning you guys as we get closer so that you can plan and have time to figure it out. All right, so I chose to texture this green stuff. Let me get close. You can still see a little bit of the green showing through. But I decided not to use a sand and gravel mixture as I was wont to do when I was a younger painter. Nope, Krios. Nope, this is... I'm talking about my Patreon stuff, sorry. I'm all excited because I did 2 videos, or edited my 2 videos and put them up yesterday, and I'm all excited about working on my new stuff today. Which is good. It's good to be excited about the Patreon. I've been kind of trying to figure out a special offer for a while now, so... Having finally settled on not 1, but 2 awesome special offers, I am like, yay! So now I have to start advertising. Okay, and I'll trim up this a bit. But anyway, as I was saying, I used to do like sand mixtures for this sort of thing. But if I put a sand on this, it would be so huge, guys. Most of the sand available, except for like if you're using like cigarette, if you remember the super fine like cigarette smoking dowser sand, that was super fine sand. But anything else is going to be way out of scale. Like it's going to look huge. Like you wouldn't even know why her carpet would be smooth. It should be lumpy if I put like a sand and gravel mixture on this. So thank you for the link there, Jetta. So that's why we're doing a green stuff sand. And it just gives me a little bit of texture sculpted onto the base that I can then use as a guide for my highlighting. Now I do want to do a line. I do want to do some lining around this rug to put in a shadow, a more convincing shadow. And I did just grab some walnut for that purpose. But yeah, Reaper is awesome and definitely helps me pay the bills every month. But my Patreon is my great love. So and is the foundation of like me being able to do all this stuff for you guys. If the Patreon tanks, Anne has to go to real jobs. Anne's working hard to to keep the Patreon rolling. But hey, Dogfather, how's it going? Good to see you. First of all, I want to kind of clean up this line. See how this wobbly line because of the green stuff right on the edge here. I want to clean that up just a little bit. Always neaten up your edges. Like if you're trying to get something to look nice and neat, just put in a little bit of lining. Here I'm not so much painting the base itself as I am just painting just inside the rim where the green stuff is there. Just to neaten up the edge. And I'm using a pretty long thin brush, using a Raphael to do it. But yeah, there we go. So I've gotten more and more class ideas that I'm trying to figure out. So yeah, you guys the Patreon guys will get to kind of see those a little early. Some of them anyway. I want to teach a bit at ReaperCon this year. Not a ton, because I do so many other things at ReaperCon. Assuming Reaper still wants me to do the award ceremony. Like, if Reaper doesn't want me to do the award ceremony, then I could probably teach just a little bit more. But the award ceremony takes a lot of oomph out of Anne, so... Standing up there on stage, talking to y'all for an hour and a half. It's pretty much a class. It's a class in who won. But an hour and a half is typical class length, so it's like, oh... There we go. So we've neatened up. See how that edge just is neat now? It's nice and scalloped and it doesn't, look messy anymore. So that's nice. Now we'll do the same thing to the rug and the little tassels to make them look good. And then we will get to highlighting our sand. We might put another... Thank you, Quindy. Oh yeah, it's Tara. It's a bombshell model. That one, the Krios, as Garmage just said. It's the 75mm variant. Everybody in the paint along tier gets to choose when we have a new model, when we're getting ready to start a new project. People just submit varying models in the Discord, and depending on what I think I can teach on it and the reaction of everybody else, it'll go on the short list. Usually I'll put like an option for 5 or 6 total models and then put up an official poll, and the people who are in that tier get to vote on it. So that's how we ended up with a 75 millimeter bombshell model for our paint along. There, a little bit, just a little bit of edge. And again, if I get a little bit rough here, I can always use my sand colors to clean it up too. So don't worry if your lining is not perfect here. That's kind of why we're doing this now, because I just base coated this and I can easily touch up with my base or my highlight any little blorfs that I might make with my walnut here. Hey, Crows and Bones. Yeah, don't overdo them for the Anne. The Anne just turns into a squash then, and not even a pumpkin. I go beyond to squash and collapse. Oh, cinemas aren't open. Yeah. Yeah, much blorfs back more. Exactly. Yeah, I'd stopped going to, except for movies I feel really excited about. I don't really go to the cinema anymore. And there we go. So just outlining that. And you see the contrast. You see how much more crisp that looks compared to these guys. Lining, totally work it. No, then I'd be in strands, and that would be weird. I don't want to pull apart in strands. Kariniko, when I was much younger, I used to drink a Red Bull before the award ceremony. But that hasn't happened for years and years, because they started energy drinks just affect my stomach badly now, so now it's all just pure Anne energy. Essentially, I go and I kind of leave the whole hall and I psych myself up super high, and then I go onto stage and I just spew it all at you. Yeah, it was interesting, Crows and Bones, because I was experimenting trying to figure out how to do the carpet, and I got help from Derek, because he's like, put it in the freezer, and I was right, oh yeah, and that was much better. But yeah, this was a bit of a blooper base to start with. I had the right idea, but I forgot that if you freeze it, it works much better if you're trying to do a cut out section of green stuff. So yeah. And then I did little tassels because they're cute and I wanted tassels. And here will be a collection dish, but I haven't done it yet. I may do it off stream. I don't know. It's because I kind of want to get to the next model and I don't want to take up a whole stream, because the problem is I'd have to mold it beforehand and let it set, which is, hours. There we go. Everybody's nice and sharp now. Speaking of sculptors who help people. Hey, Love and Music. How's it going? And green users. Oh, was Derek on Crow's Nest yesterday? Yeah, I was really busy, so I did not watch it. Yeah, Crows and Bones, because the green stuff gets less sticky and more stiff if you freeze it. So if you're trying to do a thin layer or something, and you want to be able to pull it off the plastic in one piece, freeze it. Doesn't take much. Took about 10 minutes, I think, to freeze, because it was really thin. Got the armor done. Awesome. Super, super. So what's your next project, love? I'm doing good today. It's supposed to be like really warm, so I'm going to go take my walk and it'd be like 79 or something. Insane. I bet in San Francisco proper, you're probably a lot cooler than here, though. Because you guys get more misty, cooler weather. Oh, giveaway piece. Awesome. All right, I'm going to put another coat on. I don't want to wipe out my lining, so I'll be a little careful when I get close to everything, but I don't feel like I had a solid enough coat for my sand here. Just checking up here. Yeah, Red Bull, all energy drinks. I used to really like Red Bull. There was a time like that I'd ask Ron to get me 4-packs when he went out to the store to pick up drinks. That was at Old Reaper before we moved to the new building. But yeah, somewhere in, it's probably because I did a lot of them on my road trips, and then my stomach just really hates energy drinks now. Can't do it. Just makes me feel bad. That's all right though. I can still have tea, so I'm good. I switched to tea at that point. I'm trying not to annoy my stomach enough that it decides I don't get tea either, because that would be a crisis. There we go. All right, so just blocking this stuff in the blue lines. Here, Herr Buben, we're not done yet with this. So, well, these are tassels, so we will get to them in a moment. But the rug is we just started blocking it in. So I need to take that cream color and continue blocking in all my little freehand, and then decide what I'm going to do on this border here. And the reason the tassels are only 3 over here is that I want to put a collection plate over here for her dancing. So yeah, the blue lines are just, I wanted to do a Persian rug. So we looked up Persian rug designs last stream, and then I freehanded an approximation. Because, of course, this is tiny, much tinier than the Persian rugs are that I'm looking at on the internet. So I kind of showed people how to kind of simplify the design that you see. When you're doing freehand on 28 mil, you always have to really simplify designs. Like, unless it is the most simple design to start with, because you're doing it so much smaller, you can't do the complexity that you see on a real world item that's large. So instead, you break down like the key elements of it and try to reproduce those. Yeah, so we're going to continue with our little blue Persian rug thingy, and with our tassels as soon as I get the rest of this kind of figured out. I was really annoyed that I still had primer on the model at this point. When it gets to like close to done, I get very annoyed at my remaining primer. Yeah, all the chemicals. Like, we really don't need more chemicals entering us, right? We've already got enough, like, crap in the environment. That's kind of the way I figure. So yeah, I do tea now. I have lots of different flavored ones. Although my morning tea is always my vanilla spice, because tasty. Unless I'm really in an Earl Grey mood. Which happens, but usually only in winter. There we are. And if I accidentally cover up some lining like I did there, I can go back. No, Pendrake, I'm going to put a collection dish over here. If there were going to be more tassels, I would have done them all at once. But I wanted to kind of like put a collection dish that was kind of oval shaped over here. And that would essentially sit on top of any tassels that were there. My vanilla spice tea is Yogi. It's a blend of green and black, so it's a little lower caffeine. I find I don't need as much in the morning now to get me going. There's a loose leaf tea shop in Santa Fe that's a locally owned business that I fell in love with, so I tend to order from them also. Because I was going to Santa Fe a lot in the past. I would drive up every 6 months or so. So I got kind of to know some of the local businesses downtown. And I always love to support local business if I can, even if it's not my local business. All right, so we got lines on our tassel tops then. I use reading glasses. I'm using magnification, Herr Buben. So it may look impressive, but trust me, these suckers, like, I'm not painting that if I take these off. I used to have really good close-in vision, but then, you know, when my warranty expired at age 40, my eyeballs decided that they were losing their close-in vision. So these are 3 times magnification readers. And when I have to go really, really tiny, I steal David's Optivisor and put that on, and it's a ×5, I think. So then I put this in front of my reading glasses. And then I could see everything. I could see the world. So it's not even a case of eyes so much as it is cultivating your hand-eye coordination, because you can always use magnification to make up for whatever you lack in your eyeballs, but you can't use, there is no tool to increase your brush control. So if you're going to work on one thing, if you want to do tiny details, work on consistently using the same brushstroke and working on trying to do small details. Usually for the lining is what I tell people to do. It's just like the dark lining I've been doing here. That's your practice technique to develop better brush control. And one of the best ways you can do the lining to do it is to do something with triangular scales on it. Like, for example, our fire giants are really good for this. You could... grab him. I still have fire giant sitting back here. Someday I'll work on him more. So like things like lining Mr. Fire Giant's belly, where you've got this overlapping triangular, it's really a good lining practice because it's nice long lines. It's fairly large. So if you're just starting out doing that sort of thing, and his scales down here are pretty good too, because if you look at them, they're just in kind of a jagged line, like it just goes like that. So these are good practice for lining too. Same with the back of his cape. Again, you can see everything is going in rows. So it's little tiny lines, but it also is really good practice for lining. Dragon scales, like our Onchophrixus, a copper dragon. He's a smaller dragon. He also has great scales for practicing lining. And if you do that, if you just work on like the lining technique, your brush control will get better. Oh no, these are not normal. This is from Marika Reimer. I used to laugh at her because she was in her 20s and she was still using reading glasses to paint miniatures. But then, my eyes went kaput and then I had to do it. So now look who's laughing now. So yes, reading glasses. I mean, I find these, a lot of people like optivisors and some people use the magnifying glasses, but I find them so intrusive. They really just don't work for me. So this is a great thing because I can kind of put them down on my nose and then I can still look around me at what's in the world. Yeah, it helps stop eye strain. Although, Julie, I always found that it was less glasses, less magnification or my eyes, and more the amount of light that personally worked for me. Like, I found that if I used a lot of light while I was painting, I would not get eye strain. Like, not even as much as I did playing computer games. So light, I think the amount of light that you're using when you're painting is really important. Don't just use some little puny lamp. Get like a decent amount of light to really flood and illuminate the area that you're working in, like I am here. I used to use just a lamp on either side of me. Yeah, reading glasses. Yes, reading glasses plus optivisor is very zoom. That's what I do when I really have to get close. If there's a super tiny detail like her eyes or something like that, if I'm having trouble with these, not being able to see, then I have to go to the bring out the big guns, the optivisor plus reading glasses. And it'll show you every flaw in the sculpt. And you have to remember that you really can't see those things. Like that's the problem with extreme magnification, right? Is that you got to remember that it's showing you some things that you really can't even see with the naked eye. And that's why I don't use like super magnification all the time. Because I find it distorts the way I see the miniature. And Rhonda actually talks about this. You guys see that Bird with a Brush, Rhonda Bender, who does our Reaper Learn to Paint kits, has a blog and a Patreon. And she's been doing a series on what you can't do or what is difficult to do with miniatures. And it's a really nice write-up. David and I have points where we disagree a little bit, but in general, if you are just starting to think about this stuff as far as miniatures and what kind of effects we can do easily and what kind of effects really we can't reproduce that we might see from another medium, it's a really good article. Yeah, exactly, Kerniko. Morning, Val. Good. No hurry. Like I said, Val, it'll just go on I'm through chasing people down. It's just going to go on I've got a spreadsheet. I'm tracking, when you guys send me stuff. And it'll just go on the delay list if it doesn't get done. I can't see the forest for the leaves. Huh. Yeah, that's what I was just saying. She did a part 2 for that article. But she was just talking about that. How if you only look at your model up close, you're missing how much or how little visual impact the model has when it's just on the gaming table or on the shelf or on the table in front of the miniatures competition judges, depending on what you're doing, right? So the key is to reach for pop both on the gaming table or at arm's length and a good pop when you get close, right? Because if a model attracts somebody's attention, they're most likely going to pick it up and look at it closer, right? So that's cool. But first you have to get them to look at it. So that's where you get that. Here, I think I want her up a little higher. Let me get some closer in focus here, guys. There we go. Much better. But yeah, I was reading the part two of the article. I think it's a very cool article to have out there. I feel like now when you read that though, keep in mind is there are plenty of artists, miniatures artists, who are totally breaking those rules and doing very different styles and making it work. So the way, I mean, you should definitely read it to get an idea of what is difficult. But just because something is difficult doesn't mean that we can't quite reproduce it, especially if you're doing a diorama. All those rules fly out the window if you are doing any kind of backdrop on your figure. So now I'm just doing little stipples. Just like I did when I was sculpting the sand, I'm doing little stipples. And I'm not, if I see a big crease or divot in the sand, I'm definitely like, you know, doing stipples around that area. But I'm not like trying super hard to like hit the areas that I sculpted. It's just that the sculpted texture plus the painted texture is going to interact to give you a 3D effect for your sand. So, but yeah, I mean, the key here is though, first you've got to learn the rules, like read her articles and make a note of, oh, so if I'm using, you know, this movie as an inspiration or this character, but I can't do this exact effect because she's in weird lighting in the movie and I can't portray that very easily in miniature, right? So it's useful to know these things, to be conscious of them, because a lot of us use, you know, like other paintings or comic books or movies or whatever as inspiration for colors or for characters. So it's good to be conscious of what's going to be difficult, right? Before you fall in love with a piece, with an art piece that you just want to paint your miniature in that color scheme, you know, be conscious of how much of that color scheme is due to like the surrounding areas, the backdrop, something we don't have in miniatures painting unless you put one on. The great example that she uses is The Death Dealer by Frank Frazetta, the one of him on the horse. If you take the backdrop out of that painting, it's really hard to see. Because it's just black. He's got some very key highlight and accent points, but it's much more effective with that lighter colored backdrop. And that's something you wouldn't get in miniatures, unless you put it in. So yeah. Bye! See you laters. Crows and bones. Bye! But yeah, so I highly recommend her article. And I mean, I think that the problem in our hobby is that people are like, oh, it's art. You can always challenge the rules. And that's absolutely true. But it's very hard to challenge the rules if you don't understand the rules in the first place. This is very much an old masters, you know, rule kind of thing where learn the rules to break them. So I highly recommend you going over to Bird with a Brush. I think it's birdwithabrush.com. If you type Bird with a Brush into Google, you will find her. Her blog is free, but she also has a Patreon to help cover kind of, you know, the hours and effort that she puts into it. And I believe that's patreon.com/birdwithabrush. So, and Rhonda, like I said, she paints for Reaper. She does our Learn to Paint kits. She's a fantastic woman with a very, very broad view of art these days, as she does a lot of 2D art in addition to 3D. So she's got a very broad, good perspective on it that is, I think, a bit different from some other painters. Yeah, that's what we were just talking about, Polaris, is that she just released part 2 of that series, and I think that it's a great read, and it's extremely useful to start thinking about this sort of thing. All right, so we've got stipples, giving us a little bit of sandy texture. But now I need a little bit more definition. I don't have a lot of highlight and shadow here. I kind of have a little highlight up here. I kind of am looking at the way I sculpted it. There should be a little bit of shadow there. There should be a little more highlight here. So I'm going to choose where I want to build my highlights up, and that's probably around the base of the rug because I want some contrast. I can also build up a little bit of a highlight near the edge of the base here, but you do want to just leave some areas a little bit darker and some areas a little bit lighter. You can see how I've kind of left a darker edge around here. That's on purpose. I want some variance. The sand obviously undulates a little bit, so I want some variance in it. And I'll overlay my stipples. Now I'll always be stippling though, because I mean, if I'm stippling over stippling, I'm just going to create, a finer and finer texture. It's going to be closer and closer. So just you can see how I built up that area around the rug, and having a little bit of variance in your basing is nice. It feels more like nature. Nature is usually not totally even, although deserts, of course, are kind of an exception there. Yeah, cool, Quinny. Thanks for the link. I think Rhonda didn't she do a class at ReaperCon last year that's still up? Or did she not? And she always teaches at ReaperCon, so, although a little less now because, again, the painting competition tends to suck up so much of our time, those of us who are helping to judge it, and Rhonda is kind of Michael's second in command as far as organizing. Oh, no. Okay, that's good, Quindy. It's bad that you might disappear, but thanks for letting us know. Okay, she did for ReaperCon and RVE. So Rhonda has stuff up there on Reaper's YouTube. Now I'm going to thin my paint. I'm going to bring this paint over to a new thing. I'm going to bring some bleached linen in to lighten it. Where's my bleached linen? There it is. Yay. Boop. Little couple drops. Usually I do a couple of brushfuls, and then I do a couple of drops of an off-white, in this case, bleached linen. These days, if I'm going to use an off-white, I'm usually using bleached linen, if I'm not using pure white. So those are pretty much my two white go-tos. They're very well pigmented whites. They thin very well, stay in solution, and they don't go chalky. Oh, she's next on the list to get a Twitch show. Fantastic, Carrie Michael. That'll be good. That'll be fun. It makes sense. People like Michael Proctor and me and Rhonda have a lot invested in Reaper. Like, we've helped Reaper for years. We've, worked with Reaper for years. So it makes sense that Rhonda would get a show for sure if she was interested, right? That's the only thing is, like, some painters are not interested or don't have the time if they've got a real job. Derek, I'm looking at you if you're on there. Mr. Schubert. Although sculpting with Derek would be a fantastic once-a-week show if he could free up the time. Because it'd be nice to have a green stuff sculptor kind of showing tricks and stuff as they work on figures. I think that would be fantastic, But some people, I must say, when I'm working on something like high-end, like competition work, it's much easier for me to not do it online. There's definitely, there's definitely a wish for privacy in the creation process when you're working on something that's special to you. That some people, I guess, have no problem, like, plastering all that all over the public. But I personally, I enjoy my Zen zone too much. It's part of my, de-stressing process. So there are definitely, like, projects that I'm not going to stream because I enjoy my solitude working on them, and I feel like I do a better job because I'm not conscious at that point of having to teach anything or explain anything. I guess if I started using music on my stream and just painting, I could just, go for it. But for me, streaming is an instruction medium, and so if I'm going to do a really high-end piece, it's rare that you will see a lot of it on stream. But yeah, I'm interested to see how Rhonda's show, how she brands it out. Like, how they're going to do it. Okay, now I'm going to do a little bit of highlight around the edges. So notice this extra highlight is definitely bringing out, like, lights and shadows on the sandy base. It's giving us a little bit of variance. So it's a little more visually interesting. It's not as blah. And you don't need it to be more than just a little visually interesting. It's spacing. So you want it to be there, but you don't want it to be overwhelming or anything. So you just want to show that you put a little work into it and that it is indeed not boring. Oh yeah, I love to teach, Dur. It's more like now that I'm really working on Ms. Templar here, this lady, she's gonna not be on stream anymore because there's a lot that I'm gonna be working on. Just I want to get into it. I want to get stuck in. She's far enough along now that I really want to do it. And I'm doing a tutorial on how to do the metal. So I'm going to be doing probably almost all of the rest of her off screen. Because she's going to be a high-end competition model. It's going to take so long to do the freehand on her. Like, your cat's like Rhonda. Yeah, Shadow Raven. I that's why I like Twitch. I like Twitch, and this is why I don't like Zoom. Is that Twitch lets me interact with you guys in real time and answer questions exactly when you need me to answer them, right? When they make sense. And so for me, Zoom classes are unrewarding because I don't have that interaction. And I feel like to get more out of the class, you need that student interaction. I'm going to be trying, I think that when Josh, Miniatures Monday Josh, when he puts together his little workshop with a bunch of us teaching, I think he was considering YouTube Live instead. I've never used YouTube Live, so that'll be an experience. But yeah, so I'm open to trying other teaching, I guess, interfaces. But I definitely like... Now, I could see that, the Zoom thing where you can just ask a question might cut down on the noise a little bit, the chatter, but the chatter's fun. And sometimes you guys, kind of play off each other. Like, somebody will have a question, somebody else will answer, and then somebody else will have a different answer, right? And so that's added value. So, yeah, I just really like Twitch as a teaching medium. I think it's really superior this way. Alrighty, so now we've got a nice kind of varied up little sand base. We got some shadows and highlights. We've neutral. It's neutral, but it's grayed out. These are a little bit of colors have a little bit of gray in them, right? So normally that might make a conflict with all of this bright color, but because I've brought it up to an off-white, it turns into a neutral, and the gray is kind of washed out, so it's not conflicting with her. So now let's do some highlights on our blue. Yeah, well, maybe I want to finish some of this, as you say, the little diamonds. Let's do the diamonds. So this is rich leather plus white. Rich leather plus white makes a beautiful color that's very close to the old stained ivory that is no longer in existence. And that was what I was using to highlight those rich leather areas. So I'm going to mix up some rich leather straight up. And I'm going to mix up some rich leather plus white. That way we've got both things we can touch up, and I need to kind of solidify some of this rich leather. It's not as dark of a coat as I would like. Yes, Rhonda has at least one feline. Is Archer her remaining feline overlord? Does she have more than one? I don't know. Or no, it's not Archer. It's the orangey kitty. Orangey kitty. I don't remember his name. Alrighty, let's get some water in this paint. So I'm mixing up my puddles. So just 2-to-1 on the rich leather, and then I'm going to put a couple drops of, I'll go with bleached linen again, why not? When you've got a color that's as strong as rich leather, whether you use pure white or bleached linen, really isn't, it doesn't really make a difference, except that pure white has more pigment, so it's going to bleach out your rich leather a little bit more and faster. So again, we're going to do 2 drops, which is going to be, both of these are about a 2-to-1. Because I like thinner paint, and I cannot lie. Which is why we're back to the well palette today. You guys got me on the wet palette the other day. Which was fun, but for this kind of work, I like this stuff. There we go. There's that nice color. Actually, it's kind of a caramel. See how it's a caramel color. Really pretty. I think I want one more drop of off-white though, because it's much lighter on the base. And the more white, the more opaque it's going to be. So the easier it's going to be to thin down and still get those little tiny diamonds. There. That's good. So that's a little darker than the stained ivory. That is close. So that's my go-to now if I want a stained ivory kind of dark cream or light caramel color, and I don't have the stained ivory anymore. Alrighty. So now let's go, and I want to fill in, I want to make sure with my rich leather that I've filled in. Like some of this rich leather that I have on here is a little bit light, like I didn't put a real solid coat on the first time. So I want to fix that if I can. I may need actually even a little bit more paint as far as paint to water ratio. We'll see. But anywhere where I see kind of a wobble in the color, where the paint went a little thinner. Corbin, that's right. Corbin is the orange tabby. I have a fondness for orange tabbies because that was the first kitty I had, was an orange tabby when I was a kid. We found the stray kittens, and then one of our friends took charge of them, and when they brought the kittens around to our house, Mom decided she liked the orange one. That cat used to follow me to school. Like, I had to chase him away from the playground because I was like scared that like mean kids were gonna do bad things to him. I was very cognizant as a small child that people were mean to animals. I wonder what that says about me. Yay, orange tabby. Yeah, orange kittens are just awesome kittens. That said, if I ever get another cat, if I ever decide that I want to deal with the litter boxes again, it'll be probably another Abyssinian. Like my Ishtar. Ishtar was the first cat I had on my own. And I lost her at age 10 to feline diabetes, because back in that time it was a lot harder to like take blood, and you know, I just don't know, with my squeamishness about shots, I'm not sure I could ever have given her insulin. Although it certainly has made me very conscious of my pet's weight since that time, because she was definitely pudgy. So I got pretty hardcore on feeding my animals, like not overfeeding my animals, I guess, after that. Oh no! Nomad Zeke. Oh, yay, Stanley. Stanley's a great name for an orange tabby. Yeah, sounds like I figured people out early. Yeah, pretty much, Groniko. Sadly, right? I still believe in the intrinsic good of people, but I also know what jerks people can be when they're taking out their own, you know, frustrations on everything around them. It's sad. All right, so I'm just filling in these little rich leather bits to make sure we have a nice, consistent layer. And I'm going to throw the model around because that's what I do. Just make sure I got a nice, consistent layer of rich leather before I go in and start doing these little highlight bits, which I should have done the first time, but I was impatient. There we go. Now we've got a nice, solid layer for the most part. Yeah, I think it's younger kids in high school, some high schoolers. I mean, some kids outgrow it, but it was in grade school where the kids were really nasty to animals. Man, I'm just like, it's that kind of day. Butterfingers and the Butterfingers, here we are. Okay, we're going to start doing these little diamonds. You Foster, yep. Right, Kroniko, but not back when I had Ishtar. Back when I had Ishtar was like 20 years ago, and it was really not doable for me. And also expensive, very expensive back then. And I was, that was when I made the resolution, and it was a very hard call when you have to say goodbye to an animal because you cannot afford its care. But it's pretty much when I made the resolution that would never happen to me again. So that's why I have, when I have animals, I have pet insurance on them, and I also have a animal emergency fund where I have money put aside so I never have to make that decision again. So we're just pretty much doing little edges here to add a level of complexity to our freehand design and to bring it out more so that the design comes out. Gimli and the Doctor. That's funny, Nemesra. Ah, I keep reaching for the wrong color. This is not the way it was supposed to work. It's because the other color is like really close to me on the palette, and then the other one is far away. So any areas here that turn out kind of irregular or that were a little blurfy on the edge, we can take our dark blue and readjust. So really what this is it is making the pattern prettier to do this, and it's making it stand out more, but it's also allowing me to very subtly correct things. Because I can make diamonds that are too small a little bigger. I can make diamonds that are a little lopsided, a little sharper. I can do all of that when I'm doing these little reinforcements. And so when I need the blue line to be a little bit wider, then when I come back in with that, I can adjust that part as well. So even though this is a, hey, let's make it prettier, it's also a, hey, let's actually even out our freehand. Don't like to use paint handles for what, Grey Mouser? Also, I'm going to grab my, I used Ritterlich with this, so let me grab my Ritterlich blue. Where are you, Ritterlich blue? Nope, you're ultramarine. You are Ritterlich, yay! Oh, holding the mini? Usually I had her on a handle. I don't know where it went. Oh, I guess I could put her on here. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, Mouser, once I've got them mostly done, I don't mind holding the base, as long as there's a base that I can hold on to. Yes, I could stick her on a paint handle. I have one. I had just forgotten because I don't honestly notice it. When I've got a plastic base to hold on to, I just hold on to it. But I mean, my other models are on paint handles. But before, when she was mostly on a paint handle before, when she was just glued down. But yeah, I took her off for some reason. Oh no, I just haven't gotten to the back yet here. I'm just working my way around. Yeah, I didn't even notice. I mean, I'm used to holding, these bases are big enough that they're pretty comfortable for me to hold, so I like handles. I have many handles. I have so many minis, all on tiny blocks. Tiny blocks, tiny blocks. So yes. And I have an entire bag of tiny blocks in my closet. A giant bag of them, so that I never run out of handles. But yeah, for this mini, Yeah, it's just work in progress. I'm stopping to mix up some Ritterlich blue hair boobin because I noticed that I definitely have some blue lines that are too narrow and that I need to touch up. So that meant I wanted to stop real quick and mix up my blue so that I could work on those at the same time. With this kind of work where I'm doing adjustments, but maybe like my white might get out of the lines there and get a little rough, or I see a really narrow part that needs more blue, I want to be able to hit that right away when I see it, when it comes down to it, because I'm going to forget, right? We're going to move on to a different part of the model, and I'm just going to forget that there's a problem there. So it's just easier to mix up my blue and have that right next to me so that I can correct everything as I go around the model. Hey, Pendrake. Yeah, it's no problem, Grey Mouser. I mean, you drew my attention to it, so I'm just like, all right, I guess I'll use a handle. Really, it's is my hand comfortable? And if my hand is comfortable, then I don't mind. Oh, hey, it's 10:30, so it's time to stretch. Let me just correct this little blue part here. Just kind of looking around. This one's a little bit narrow as well. Yeah, so that way we can just kind of correct until everything looks beautiful and symmetrical. Now it's all very even here. There's still a couple little bit places, but when it comes down to it, once you've got a repetitive pattern established, then a little bit of variance isn't going to throw you off. You're still just going to see the repetition, and it's going to look nice. So, any shading or highlighting. I'm going to put a little bit of a shadow back here behind her hair boobin, but I'm going to use that different color for that. And I want to do my entire pattern first, and then put my shadow down, because I use a very thin glaze to shade. So essentially, if my pattern is down first, it's going to look more natural. So do the whole thing, get your pattern all out, and then ask yourself where the shadow's falling. In general, her shading is kind of top down, but there's probably a little bit of a shadow projected behind her, so I will add that little bit of shadow back here. Otherwise, though, the light is kind of, with her, the light is very top down. So it's going to be pretty much light all around her, except for the little shadow that's cast by her skirts and stuff. So everything will look like the front diamonds, although the front diamonds are not done. And then at the end, I'll glaze in a bit of a shadow to add some more dimensionality to her. And I'll also darken the area down here, right under her skirts, with the same kind of glaze. So that is what we will do. Yeah, she's kind of crazy. Probably all the other belly dancers think she's nuts. Especially, because she looks like the type to sunburn. But but yeah, so I tend to do, if I'm going to do freehand, I tend to do all of my pattern, and then I start to apply shading to bring it down. I find that is much easier than trying to do all of these in a darker color and do all of these in a lighter color. And it tends to look weird, too. Like if you're not consistent in your freehand, like if you do all your freehand and then do a shadow, cast shadow, then it just looks like, okay, this rug is like this, and that's the area that's in shadow. But if I try to paint it with darker colors out the gate, I don't know. I'm not as much a fan of that. Yeah, SPF 95 enchant. Right. Exactly. So let's just prop her up on a little water bottle so you guys can see her while I do my stretches. If you have been sitting for more than 45 minutes, please get up and stretch, people. Otherwise, your back will not forgive you. And my back is much happier lately, but it still has its moments. Oh, dear. Which is why back bends are a thing. Stretch, everybody, stretch. Stretch, get up and get yourself some water or another drinky thing, whatever your drinky thing of choice is. And do your stretches. Actually, hair boobin, I have a model. Actually, I'll wander into the other room and grab it. It's one of my competition models that I did the same with the freehand, do it, and then shade it thing. Hold on, I'll get that.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay, thank you. And the fact that the percent IVT is a lot smaller than the percent.
So this is Sacrifice, and she was my crystal brush entry. And with her, I gotta cover up her, she's a naked model, so I must cover up the naughty bits in order to put her on Twitch. With her, I wanted to do all this freehand and then put in the shadows, like where the stuff goes down into the crease, then I started shading down there and darkening there. But with freehand, that's really elaborate. I find that taking it all up and then shading it down is much easier than trying to make each one of these tiny stitches, because you can see my finger in there. You see how tiny she is. It's much easier to just do it all and then glaze in or put a little wash here or there to get your shadows than it is to try to highlight specific points, right? And leave everything else in shadow. Like I needed to be able to have my pattern look right and then shade it. So I kept more brightness up on top of her head from the direction that I wanted, and then I brought it down a little bit, shaded it as it moves into the creases. So she's from Black Sun, I think, called Sacrifice, and She's a beautiful model. There's Damascus on her blade. But yeah, this was my crystal brush entry, which is an international level competition. And I did make first cut with it. It's hard to win at crystal brush because there's so many people sculpting stuff. But she's also got texture. You can see her cloth texture on her cape. And yeah, this is all based on Moorish architecture patterns because I wanted to paint her dark-skinned Moorish. Because the dagger also said like a Moorish background to me, the wavy bladed Chris. So yeah, she was the last like competition level model I did. So now I have to top her with Ms. Templar. That's the goal, is to make an even cooler competition level piece. That's why I'm doing the Sky Earth. All right, I get down and do some cat cows on the ground, and then I will get back up and resume. Yeah, it's like freehand was never my free card before. It was always colors. I had to work hard to get better at freehand. I have a drawing background, but it's very different when you try to go at it with a brush. You really have to develop your skill, your application skill, just a little bit differently. Almost done. Just gotta do my floor stretches real quick. Except that I really love doing that stuff, Strato. Like, that's where I get in my real zen. Like, is when I'm doing those intricate, tiny designs. Love it. Absolutely love it. Like, cannot, like, just adore it. It's, and I always love those designs in architecture, too. Like architecture gives me a lot of inspiration for freehand. I find that I use it for inspiration almost more than I use like actual textile designs, because the textile designs tend to be very hard to simplify. But in architecture, when you've got stone carving, you're already simplifying your design. So it tends to transfer very well to miniatures. But yeah, I really like how Sacrifice turned out, but we're going to put some crazy freehand on the cloth for Templar as well. I'm debating different styles currently. Since she's elven, I could do almost anything, but her cloth also has heavy folds, which Sacrifice did not. When you've got cloth with heavy folds, you have to change up what types of designs you look at, because you want them to read correctly for the viewer. So it's tiny. It's very tiny. That's why the freehand was so much fun for me. I can do tiny freehand, dang it. You guys, some of you guys might have missed it, but when I was working on my latest, I was working on this freehand the other day. So she's spades. I wanted to use gambling iconography with my halfling here. So we did a border of spades going up and down. Not as tiny as Sacrifice stuff. All right, I am back. Oh, need to hydrate. Hydrate. But yeah, part of why I like bigger models is, frankly, that, because, you know, we all do this tiny level of detail on these 28s, and it looks very simple. But when you take that same level of detail and you put it on a bust, then you start blowing minds, because it's like people expect a certain level of detail here, and then you bring that up and you shrink your detail on a bigger piece, and then it starts really looking interesting. So, yep, hail the hydration. Everybody drink. And hydrated, drink. I'm going to lighten up my coffee color just a little bit. And let us resume our diamonding. I also have to figure out, originally there were like circular medallions in this broad blue stripe on the outside. So I may do those as well, but I haven't yet decided. Probably should have blocked them in along with everything else, but Sometimes I get lazy and then I regret not doing it later. So if I did it now, I would probably actually use this caramel color that I'm using for edging here And I would start, making little circles, probably ovals actually. And start kind of blocking those in and bringing them around the outside here. If you block them in with really thin paint, then you can slowly adjust them as you fill them in more. Like if you notice after you've kind of sketched them in with really thin paint, if you notice one needs to be longer, or this one needs to be a little shorter, or this one needs to move a little bit one way or another, you can do that very easily when you've blocked in your initial shape with thin paint. So, freehand tips today. We're full of them. So tomorrow is Genie Day. I'll probably think I still need to work on some of her pink, and I want to do more of her NMM as well. We're going to get to her smoke soon. She'll take a little bit to do because she's a bigger model. But Jeannie is not as involved as she could be. I'm looking up at her. Yeah, we do need to highlight, we need to shade and highlight her, we got a bunch of the shadows on, but we need to highlight her pinks for sure when I look at her up there. And I'm going to be doing kind of a rainbow smoke effect on her smoke, because I have it in mind to do something like that. We'll see how it turns out. But that's going to be like one of the last things I do on Jeannie. And then I'll probably have a model to replace her with. Although I don't know, I'm putting in a Reaper order. I need some brown liner because David keeps stealing mine. But I'm putting in a Reaper order later, so I might look at the new releases and maybe look at some different models. People were asking for humanoids, so I might grab something else since we did Rock Troll. But we could do a different model. I'll look around and see what we've got. So here's where the design gets a little compressed here. So it's just important to not let any line get too squishy. It's okay for a rug to be a little irregular. But again, just keep your pattern as consistent as you can, and any differences people won't even notice them. Here we go. And I'm rinsing my brush very frequently, notice. I always do. Whenever my paint gets tacky, or it's not doing drawing as nicely lines as I want, because these lines got a little bit transparent because I was running out of paint, I will go and rinse my brush and reload. I usually, when I'm using tiny brush, then I do just reload sometimes without rinsing. Because tiny brush, the paint dries out so fast on. But these big brushes with the fine tips, they let you just go forever. So since you've been painting for a lot longer, there's a lot more risk of the paint drying in the bristles, so then I'll do the rinse. And it's just very relaxing. It's very zen. Do freehand, it's very zen. This is a very simple freehand design. And I'm going to throw my brush across the room, because it's how I roll. It's today. It's Wednesday. It's the last day of the month. Tomorrow is my 18-year anniversary at Reaper. I have to poke Reaper and find out if I can do a giveaway or something. I should just text Ed. Cut out the middleman. But yeah, Reaper, John, or Justin, whoever is currently riding herd on us, if you could check and see if we could do like just some gift certificate giveaways, like $25 gift certificates tomorrow for my 18-year anniversary with Reaper. That would be super lovely. Because I believe that if it's my special day, we should give stuff to you. Oh yeah, Dabber, but you know, we don't do giveaways very much on this show because the knowledge is the free giveaway. But I still like to give you guys like stuff sometimes. Here we go. We're almost done, look! I think there are other cultures other than... I'm pretty sure Tolkien stole that from other cultures. There's at least one other world culture, I think, where it's customary to give gifts to other people on your birthday. Alright, now I have to think about on this gold how I want to do it. If I'm going to put a design in it. So many of these carpets have so much kind of interior, like every circle has another circle within it and things like that. Thanks, Krios. I was never much into hobbits. I always liked elves, and now I'm a fan of dwarves. Although my latest favorite D&D race has got to be the half-orc, but that's probably because I created a cool orc culture in my D&D world. Normally, I do not feel that half-orcs are very, in most D&D worlds, are very interesting in culture. I like a cultured orc. So we're just pretty much almost putting elongated dashes in here to kind of space out our design. In your workplace, you have to bring in cake for everyone on your birthday. I don't know if I agree with the mandatory policy of that. I like it to be voluntary. I think it says much more good things about you as a person if you choose to do it. Blocking in our little rotundas? Rounds, ovals, things, splotches, blorfs. They're just controlled blorfs. That's all they are. And some of them are a little bit more thin, transparent, and some of them are a little more... Yeah. Well, the orcs in my D&D world are based on Chinese culture. So, an ancient empire. But they're... they still have a certain savagery to them, but they also have like kind of a... They've got a lot of monks and stuff too, so... I try to use ancient real-world cultures to design my D&D fantasy races for my world. And everybody helped me do it. We did it online in my personal stream. And now I'm designing the next adventure for us to play. Might be ready tomorrow. We'll see. I'm still it's kind of percolating. I'm excited. I like letting a good adventure percolate. There we go. This is starting to look really nice. So technically, I think on the rug that I originally was patterning this after, these were circles, but I kind of like the ovals. And carry them right around. Yeah, that looks really nice. We definitely have a Persian rug going on here. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with these little gold bands. I'll probably actually do just little tiny, like almost a braided effect on those once I get to that. And I may highlight my blue. Let's see, what time is it? Yeah, I could probably highlight blue. Yeah. I need to rinse. Getting tacky paint in my brush. That's the rinse thing. I'm just impressed that I actually worked for somebody for 18 years. Like, it's crazy in these. Like, among Generation Xers, I'm pretty sure that was pretty insane, and probably even more insane these days. Just shows you what an awesome company Reaper is. Yeah, I need to get online and see what the new releases look like. I'm really excited for Bones 5. I'm planning to use some of those models. Some of my Bones 5 models on stream. We'll do at least one Snow Leopard. How about that? Because I got the Mandipar Pass. That's my big purchase on Bones 5. I don't have room for a pirate ship. I have nowhere to put it. Not even in the box. So I have a Maldracar that I can't even use. It's taking up space in my closet. I'm like, I need to just give this away on my personal stream because I have a resin one and I don't need an extra bones one. 29 years. Nice, I went splat. That's unusual these days, right? Oh yeah, hopefully Reaper Challenge League should totally do a bust thing for Julie's busts. Maybe, I painted the girl with the dragon already, so I'm not really interested in painting another one of those, but maybe for the next paint along on my Patreon, we can do the Ranger. Julie's Ranger bust once it's out. Because I do want to do a bust at some point for the paint along. But the challenge is making it affordable to everybody. And I bet the Bones Ranger bust would do that. So now I'm just going and kind of reinforcing these little guys. Tomorrow, April 1st, April Fool's Day is my 18th anniversary Twistedoma. As I like to tell it, 18 years ago, I showed up on Reaper's front doorstep wondering if Dave was going to tell me it was all a joke. 26 years, nice, Roger. Yeah, it really is rare now, though, I think. It's rare for any of us to want to stay with a company that long, and it's rare to not be hopping around more. But some companies, I think, are just really high quality companies and encourage that sort of thing. I know several Reaper people who have been at Reaper longer than I have, who are still there. Ah, okay, I blurfed a little bit there. Trying to fill these guys in a little more solid now, and then I'm actually going to do a little highlight, I think, along the front edge. That's pretty good. Some of these need a little more touch-up. But again, each of your little ovals doesn't need to be perfect, because most people are just going to notice the pattern. And as long as they're close, you're good. 28, nice Twistedoma. Yeah, besides Ed Greywolf, Ron has been there longer than me. Kevin has been there longer than me, our staff sculptor. Obviously Dave. Matt Clark has been there longer than me. If he's still there. Oh wait, he was retiring, wasn't he? Didn't I hear that? So yeah, I guess the number is going down. Thormel, great attitude. Yeah, Matt retired. Okay, so that's less. 21, Bryce. Nice. Interesting, Deborah. Yeah, I mean, and that really suits some people. Like that kind of, different job every year. You never get bored. You never feel like you've done it all at your job. I mean, I was definitely running into that a little bit with Reaper, with the paint department, where I felt like I'd accomplished all the goals that I had set for myself, or at least made a run at them. And I was starting to look around for doing something different, which is why we started Twitch streaming with me, part of why. And and now here I am doing this. So I was a staff painter for Reaper, and I worked a little bit in production just to fill in. And then the paint department was my second job, and then I finally ended up being a content creator. So yeah, right. And once I add the ovals and I take away that dark blue stripe, boom, the whole model starts to really go light. Now I do have to be careful. I'm probably not going to put in a lot of other tight details because remember the danger. The danger is that our rug becomes more interesting and visually compelling than the model. So we still want everybody to look at her first and look at this second. So I have to make sure that I'm not like going gangbusters on my freehand down here, or all anybody will look at is the carpet. So I'm wanting to keep it a little low key. So probably not going to do a lot more tight detail. I am going to highlight my blue out here on the tassels though. And a little bit. Let's see here. All right, blue. I was using Ritter Lake. I added a little bit of white to it just because I wanted it to not be quite so dark. So now I'm going to transfer this over to another puddle, add a little bit more white. Thanks, Ty. Yeah, it's harder. Blue is one of the harder colors to do. If you go back and find the stream that I did this on, that I did the translucent cloth on, which her item number, if you want to go and look at Reaper's YouTube, you can always search by item number and find the previous streams. And usually you can see kind of from the snapshot. If you just watch in, you can see what stage I'm at. But 3767. If you want to see how that was done. But blue is one of the harder colors to do over skin tones because it's complementary. So the skin tones, most skin tones are like a muted orange. That's what they count as on a color wheel. So when you try to do a color that is a complement to that, it tends to gray everything out. So you have to be very delicate with it to make it work. Greens and purples, reddish purples and yellowish greens are so much easier to do on skin tones. Oh, this palette? They're out of stock because I tell everybody and then went and bought them. Also, there's still hundreds of container ships like sitting off of LA's port. Or not 100, but dozens. But anyway, this is from Cheap Joe's Art Supplies. It is the palette that I love. I own like 3 of them so that if I break one, I have backups. It's a 28 well palette. And as you can see, the wells are very small. Here's my thumb. My thumb fits in a well. That's how big that well is. So it's very small, which means that I can use like 8 drops of paint plus water, which is about the size of most of my puddles here, is about 8 drops. And that way the puddle stays wet for a very long time. Like you can see that I still have wet paint in all of these from the start of the stream, and I haven't added water to any of these. Now, some of these puddles are much smaller, so if I do want to keep my walnut going, and, this color and this color, I'd add 1 drop of water and mix them up probably every hour and a half or so. Depends on how arid your environment is. But the point is, because these wells are smaller, there's less surface area exposed to the air, and the paint stays wet for a good long time. Which is why I love this palette. So I highly recommend this if wet palettes frustrate you sometimes and you wish you could do thinner mixes easier. Picking up one of these once Cheap Joe's has them back in stock. You want a ceramic. It is a ceramic, a porcelain palette. You definitely want ceramic or porcelainous, as it were, because it's so easy to clean. Like, I just put this in the sink with some hot water and a little bit of 409 or Method spritzed into it. I let it sit for 5 minutes. Then I bring out a green scrubby pad and all the paint comes off very nicely. So, yep. Yeah, I started like 5 minutes late though. So I'm going to go for 5 more minutes. So we're going to highlight this. But yeah, this is a lovely palette. And like I said, I have extras because I adore that. I adore it. And that way I can always have one, like I can wash one and put it in the drainer and just grab a dry one and put it down on I can always paint. And also, if I want to put saran wrap over to preserve my paint for a project that I'm planning to work on over a couple of days, that gives me a third palette so that I can do that. So let's just put a little bit of highlights on these blue thingies here. Oh, it says they're available. Yee! Quindy. Awesome. So yeah, they're available now. Yay! They were out for a while. I was blaming container ships. Oh no, it says it's back ordered already? Oh yeah. Yeah, the ceramic palettes make it a lot easier to clean than the plastic palettes are just, they're very limited. If paint dries on them, you have to scrub it off, and you tend to make abrasions in the plastic surface. And what that does is it gives paint more to cling to. So then your next clean of the palette will be worse and harder, and so on and so on. Oh, porcelain every time. Porcelain every time, Hair Boobin. Like, if this was plastic, it would have been globbed up with dried paint long before this. This is years old. And I like, just like white paper, I guess it's the artist in me, but I like to start with a clean palette. So, the porcelain is so easy to clean. It's so easy to clean. The plastic will not come up. Like, the first couple times the plastic will clean up, but like I said, the more you scrub it, the more you clean it, the more you're causing micro abrasions in the plastic. The paint sinks its little claws into that and doesn't want to come up. So as time goes on, those plastic palettes, there's a reason they're cheap. As time goes on, your plastic palette will be globbed up with dried paint all over the place, and that drives me nuts. So I dealt with that as a kid in art classes, and then when I discovered porcelain palettes, I was like, oh, hallelujah, finally I have a palette I can consistently clean. That isn't a total pain in the butt. So we're doing some little highlights here. But yeah, porcelain. And porcelain isn't that expensive. Like, for this cheap Joe's palette, it's like $10. I mean, yeah, that's, you know, your plastic palette might be $2 or $3, but this sucker, it's so easy to clean, and, you know, stays good forever, so it's worth it to me. May not be worth it to everybody, but I also love the size of the wells, because they're smaller. Nope, porcelain is like a glass. See how shiny that is? I even use a green scrubby on this, and there's no abrasions. The thing that will vary is some of, like, obviously enamel paint is going to cling to this like crazy. Like, but it clings to everything. And some metallics are very hard. They're in a very hard, transparent type of base. So metallics can take a little more scrubbing to get up, but that's it. Okay. Good. Yeah, you'd have to try really hard to cause abrasions. Like, I just use a green scrubby pad. And we got our little bit of tassel hanging over the side here to give us a little bit of interesting three-dimensionality. If I can't make the collection dish work, then I may put more tassels on. It's not too late. It's never too late. It's never too late for green stuff. Then I'm going to grab a little bit of my sand color and mix a little bit of more of a highlight. Just a little bit for where these tassels are kind of bulging out. And a little bit there. A little bit there. Just trying to bring out a little extra detail. So I'm mixing a little bit of an off-white into my blue to get one higher highlight. And bring those out more. And again, this brings them out a little bit. They still have the dark edges, so they're still, like, they stand out. But now they're more in line with this color, right? With her dark, they're the same color as the shadows in her blues. So now the rug matches her more, which is also good visually as far as bringing everything together. So then I can decide if I want to highlight my blue a little bit. No, it's only Reaper can post links, Jelly. So, I mean, tell people, you can tell people where to find it, but yeah, exactly. See, that's the problem. When Cheap Joe's had them for $5, a lot of people bought like 2 or 3 or 5. So that's why you're out. And then you've got all those, I really feel like it's the shipping industry at this point that's so clogged up because of COVID. So all those container ships in LA and things like that. Like, it really is causing kind of a backlog. So eventually they'll get back in stock. But I feel like I don't like, I think I would go back to I would go to a wet palette instead of going to, like, if I couldn't get this small wells, I wouldn't use the bigger wells. You have to use so many drops of paint to make the bigger well palettes work really as well as this. Like, you'd have to use 8 drops just of paint and then use, water and stuff if you had a bigger well. Because you need to have that fluid puddle underneath it. There. Yay, she's looking pretty good, guys. Pretty good. I just need to do the gold. Maybe do a little bit more crisping up on some of those diamonds, but she is almost done. Like, she just needs a little collection dish, or if I decide to do more tassels. Although I think the collection dish would be good because she's kind of looking down there, so she's kind of looking to see what her overhead is. Medine 24 well ceramic watercolor well paint palette. Okay. Thanks, Jellyware. So there you go. There's a Google search, everybody. Sweet. Yeah, pretty soon we will be starting on Lizette. And I may do the green work on camera on her, actually, since there's, like, what she has is she's got this recessed mold line right in here. And this is the kind of mold line that is really hard to remove with a knife or with a file, just because of its positioning. So what I do is use green stuff to smooth it out. So I may actually do that on camera so that you guys can watch. And I've got some other mold lines to do as well. But, since the green stuff is down there and it's recessed, I can do that and then still start skin tones if I want. Now, you guys... Oh, might come back on the 7th? Oh, yeah, just like the Raphael Kalinskis. Yep. So, you guys wanted me to do her in yellow, didn't you? Am I remembering that correctly? I think I have it on a sticky note attached to her card. Have fun, Omedzic, or don't have fun, but at least have a decent doctor appointment. I know how this goes. But I think you guys wanted me to do her in yellow. So that'll be very different from the other versions of Lizette. So do you want me to go greenish yellow or orangish yellow? For the Lizette. Greenish yellow, orangish yellow. Greenish. Then we got orange, green, orange. Wow, this really split. We managed to roll a dice. Well, we're going to do bright yellow no matter what, but do you want to go green? Do you want to go... Okay. Greenish could be interesting. Yeah, well, because shipping overseas is hard, Cornico. I don't know. Is Reaper there? Reaper, are you there? Can we put up a poll? What kind of yellow do we want to paint Lizette? Either a greenish yellow or an orangish yellow. And mellow yellow is not an option, Pendrake. For one thing, Mountain Dew was always superior. Back when I had sugary sodas, man, I can't even touch that stuff now. Mostly, okay, well, let me tell you guys something. Orange yellow is the more popular yellow. Humans seem to like orange yellows more. Oh, because if I'm going to have you guys make a decision, I want to see, like, the decision. Like, it would allow people to actually vote. And it looks like it's about 50-50. Like, it's really hard for me to tell. Yeah. What color comp? There we go! All right, everybody, get up and vote. It should be in your chat window. And if you go down, what color comp? Orange yellow or green yellow? The orange yellows have... Oh, there we go. The green yellow's catching up. Watch, we're going to come up at 50-50. I'm going to roll a dice. Don't worry, even if your side doesn't win, I'll talk about how I would choose colors to go with the yellow based on what we're using, okay? So no matter what, I'll talk about if green wins, I'll still talk about what colors I would choose if this were an orange-yellow combo. And if orange-yellow wins, I'll still talk about what colors I would choose to go with a green-yellow combo. You don't like Mountain Dew. That's okay. You can... You don't see it either? If you're on your phone, the polls are really hard to... I don't know if you can see them. If you're on your desktop, you can see it. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes Twitch is a little bit bluish yellow. That's greenish yellow, Grey Mouser. Budgie green. That's a yellow green. So far we have green yellow winning though. You had to refresh. Refresh your window then maybe? And see if you can see it. All right, good, good, good. Yes, vote, vote, vote. Vote before it's done. Lord, everybody had already chosen yellow for her. Like people in a previous stream had decided they wanted her primary color to be yellow. So that's why I was like, but do you want it to be a cool yellow or a warm yellow? Sometimes I don't let people choose the colors. Sometimes I just choose the colors. But I wanted, on this one, I wanted some input. So yeah, Dancing Girl is almost done. Yep, thanks. It is time. Thank you. So yeah, she's getting there. I just need her little collection dish to get done. I need to start the green this week for that. There have been past Lizettes done in green and purple. Derek Schubert's original version of the original Lizette was green and purple. But I do a lot of purple, so I was like, let the chat choose today. And the chat wants yellow. Yellow's a hard color to paint. All right, guys, it is time. So what we did today is we painted in our textured sand, and then we added some ovals to break up our outer band on the carpet. We did our edging on all of our little freehand designs here, and we highlighted our tassels. So that is what we did today. And then tomorrow is Jeannie. Let me go get her to whet your appetite. Jeannie is coming in tomorrow. We will continue. I guess I did put some highlights on some of her pink, but we need to continue that. We need to block in some more of her gold. She is moving really fast though, because she's doesn't have most of her is clouds, right? So we will continue with our pink tomorrow. We will continue with our gold tomorrow. And then we'll probably have to shift to the mist eventually. So yeah. Good, Rumpelstein. Fantastic. Black, yellow. And that is olive. Black, yellow is olive. Make her a bumblebee. I'm not going to go that way. But I do like yellow. Yellow is actually my favorite color. Like you would think purple was, but my favorite color is actually yellow. Yes, indeedy. So there we go. There's the girls. The girls are hanging out. Okay, you guys, that's what we did today. I hope you had fun. I had fun. I'm looking forward to some of our new projects. Jeannie says, don't miss tomorrow's stream. Have a good one and happy hump day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.